What things do people romanticize but are actually horrible? Diamonds. Not fake ones, but mined diamonds. Convincing people that spending more for unethically sourced rocks equals proof of romantic commitment must be one of the greatest and most despicable marketing cons ever. It's in the song pretty explicitly. A kiss may be grand, but it won't pay the rental on your humble flat or help you at the automat. Men grow cold as girls grow old, and we all lose our charms in the end, but square-cut or pear-shaped, these rocks don't lose their shape. I was very surprised the first time I really paid attention to the lyrics. People who insist that man-made diamonds are not real diamonds make me angry. They have the exact same composition. They are made of the same thing. I don't own any diamonds, real or so-called fake. It just makes no logical sense to me. Lol.
Living any time in the past that didn't have running water or toilet paper.
I think about this all the time. I think people don't realize how different things would be without clean water and sewer systems.
I love high fantasy, but I would never want to live in the world of Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings, using a bucket for a toilet and smelling the horrid odors of people who haven't bathed in a month while on the road.
Being a farmer. I don't want to make this a top-level answer because it's not necessarily horrible, but it fits under this answer. Farming is difficult. It's backbreaking, it's risky. These are the reasons my boomer parents who were raised on farms did not stay on them. I believe small and independent farms and local food production are extraordinarily important. We do need to help sustain the back-to-farm movement, but we shouldn't romanticize.
Ask a historian, not a history enthusiast, when they will say, well, the weather was nice Tuesday.
The end of a marriage, until death do us part. The experience of being a widow after having found your person, shared a life, and built a family together is traumatizing, and it continues being so. It just feels like there is no reprieve, and the only person you want to discuss any of that with is your deceased spouse.
I think about this all the time too, and it makes me think about the importance of building a community around you. Not that that makes getting widowed easy, but at least then you'll still have loved ones looking out for you.
Working for a nonprofit, you are generally doing the work of 3 people, for a third of the pay you would get at a similar job in a for-profit, and the knowledge that you are doing some good in the world isn't as satisfying when you can never vacation or retire. Also, if you are working with clients directly, a lot of them are openly hostile to you because they are embarrassed about needing help or are just generally unwell. Borderline stalking, or actually stalking, a romantic partner and wearing them down until they give in.
Freelancing. Instead of working for a boss, you work for several bosses. Doing taxes is a mess if you're a U.S. citizen. Fluctuating income? The one I never see mentioned is having to self-motivate every single day. I've done a lot of freelance work for the last decade, and I'm burned out on always feeling like I have something I should be doing. It's exhausting. I much prefer steady hours and the expectation that I am working during specific hours. I know you can set that for yourself, but that is apparently not my skill set.
I'm self-employed. That means I get to keep all my profits, and the government doesn't make any deductions.
Hey, why am I not eligible for disability?
Freelancing is very much a to each their own kind of thing. The people who prefer it love it.
As a CPA who prepares a substantial number of individual tax returns, most people have absolutely no business being in business for themselves. A significant number struggle with maintaining adequate books and records, and most also fall short in the discipline, organization, and attention to detail necessary to run a viable, profitable enterprise. This not only makes tax preparation an absolute nightmare, but it exposes them to unnecessary risk. In many cases, their net income is considerably lower than what they could earn performing comparable work as employees of an established organization. They also tend to work longer hours while receiving less overall compensation.
Jealousy and possessiveness. I have had female friends upset when their significant other doesn't seem to have these traits. I am guessing they are reading far too many mafia romances.
I like it in the occasional romance read, but in real life, it's awful to experience. I wish your friend mental and emotional wellness, so she escapes that mindset.
Working in healthcare. Not even considering the grossness that is just part of your job, being in any role that truly is about saving lives also means you will inevitably have to face the experience of being there when someone loses their life. Even if you were not the one making choices about their care, it still affects you. And the experience of losing a patient or client is such a weird kind of grief compared to normal loss.
Yep. I'm not even direct care, but I go on codes quite often. I find that when someone passes, it's the reactions of others that get to me. Family, friends, and even my own coworkers. When they break, I break. It's awful.
Sex on beaches and in hot tubs. Sand and chemicals make poor lubricant. Also, shower sex. One person is always going to be freezing because the other person is under the water. Also, it's dangerous. Showers are slippery.
The last time I tried to get busy in a hot tub, I almost passed out from heat stroke.
This. Had sex in a hot tub because I thought it would be cool. Major urinary tract infection after.
I do not know. We own a hot tub and it is one of our favorite places for sex. My wife likes the feeling of floating, and I keep it very clean and set to 98 degrees Fahrenheit. Only thing to consider is the once in, stay in rule. Water is not lubricant, so unplugging can make things difficult.
Huge public marriage proposals that pressure someone into saying yes or being embarrassed.
The problem here is that you get clueless people who think that a proposal really is as simple as springing the question on your girl one day. Those people pressure the person. The reality, though, is that you should already have been talking about marriage and proposals for a while before you even pick the spot where you want to propose. Heck, I already knew my wife was going to say yes before I even bought the ring. I proposed in a public place, knowing she'd love it, and knowing that she would have said yes no matter where I asked, and it went perfectly.
My husband's cousin planned a public one that I wouldn't say was huge, but it was kind of awkward in that his fiancée got sick that day, and he had to convince her to come out. His one sibling even came from across the country to celebrate.
Also super private ones, like in the woods or on a boat where she might not feel safe saying no. In fact, just pressure proposals in general. Only propose to someone that actually wants to marry you.
My first engagement was a public one. We did not end up getting married. My second was a very quiet and shy, if I asked you, would you say yes, over dessert at my favorite restaurant. It was so quiet that the owner came over and said she could have sworn she saw him put a ring on me but wasn't sure. Could she send champagne, etc.? We said only as long as she didn't make any more fanfare out of it than that. We are still very happily married.
A man being obsessed with you. A lot of romantic TV shows and movies make it seem adorable and harmless, but most of the time it's actually abusive and scary.
I scrolled almost to the bottom to see this, but it was my first thought. Things have gotten better. But I remember the days when lots of shows had a man grabbing a woman and forcing a kiss on her, and that was supposed to be so romantic or something.
Being married to a celebrity? Could you imagine being in that much of the limelight all the time? How horrible and criticized over everything in the media?
I dated a performer with a large social media following. Not famous, but you couldn't convince them that, LOL. And it was way more challenging than I expected. It's weird having people comment on your partner's post about how much they're in love with them. It's weird to have people bringing homemade special gifts to your partner. It's weird to have people who have had a parasocial relationship with your partner longer than you have known them and have lots of opinions about their life and past. My ex is a bit of a toxic mess, so I'm sure some people handled that stuff better than they did, but it definitely gave me pause about ever attempting to date someone with any sort of a following ever again.
I believe Bill Murray said something to the effect of, when I hear someone say they want to be rich and famous, I tell them, try just being rich first. I genuinely don't think there's any amount of money you could pay me if the caveat was I also had to be wildly famous. If there was an amount, it would have to be in the 9 figures, at least.
What do you mean you have to do another sex scene with an actor hotter than I will ever be? I don't remember seeing that in the script.
I briefly went out with a girl once who was modeling. The first night we spent together, she warned me that she had just done an ad and that I might stumble on her face once in a while. The next morning, her 3-foot-tall face was on every left side of public buses in my huge city. 30 years later, I'm still traumatized.
Mental health disorders, or autism, or ADHD. You see so many people on social media who make these things out to be quirky or even almost cute, and films depicting the slightly crazy manic pixie dream girl, but they are in reality seriously debilitating conditions that mostly just ruin people's lives or hold them back immensely.
People's romanticizing ends the exact moment real mental illness symptoms occur, especially prevalent online with the amount of self-diagnosis or straight-up lying people do. Fake autism and OCD accounts posting about their so-called tics that are just twitching and tapping a pencil while wearing perfect makeup and a fully planned outfit for the camera. There's also the morons constantly spouting the "your mental illness is actually a superpower" or "autism means you must be a savant" crowd that annoys me to no end.
My dad loves to send me Instagram reels about how to use your ADHD as a superpower. I get that he's trying to help my self-esteem, but it would have been a lot more helpful if he learned about the ways that ADHD is an obstacle for me.
This and the romanticizing typically ends once they actually date you. Like, surprise, I can manage my symptoms. I do everything I can to be a, quote, normal, functioning human, but I'm not. It's not cute or sexy, and suddenly, once it's real, instead of a weird fantasy, they swap to demonizing you.
I used to get so mad when people would post, "Oh my god, I'm so manic, I just dyed my hair again, hee." I'm like, well, I spent $30,000 on credit cards in a short amount of time while manic, so not to say people can't have different manifestations of mania, but to glamorize it and joke about it in front of people who did life-ruining things while manic was just annoying. Nowadays, I don't give a crap what other people say, but man, at the time, woof.
Serial killers. It is not okay to be in love with a cannibal that killed 17 young boys.
I could go on about this, especially how people like Dahmer are portrayed in Ryan Murphy's Monster series.
For real, what's crazy too is all those serial killers and family annihilators get tons of girls lining up for them and love letters when they go to prison.
I'm a bit into true crime, hopping on the bandwagon with Serial and going down the wrongful convictions and unsolved crimes pathway. Even Tiger King, Don't F with Cats, and so on. And I have been absolutely shocked by the rise of all of these serial killers documentaries and even actual biopics. I have absolutely no interest in anything like that and find it pretty gross that anyone is.
That and their intelligence is vastly mythologized.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. It really helps. Subscribe for more and tap the bell so you don't miss the next one.